Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. If you're only subscribed to the Eckhart's Ladder channel, this may be your first time seeing my face or even my office. I've got a little Grogu up there. That's actually how my wife told me that she was pregnant with our second kid. This video is already getting way off the rails. Sorry the lighting isn't great. That's part of the reason why I don't usually do these sort of face cam videos. I don't quite have the setup for it yet. There has been some demand for it. But we're talking about something that's a little more interesting than my bland face, and instead covering this most recent news about Knights of the Old Republic perhaps being delayed. Now, I've seen a lot about this online, a lot of discussion, a lot of raging from myself included, but not as much actual substantive discussion of what Jason Schreier's article actually says. So I thought today I would purchase the article because it's like 30 cents. Purchase it, we'd go through it together, kind of have our thoughts. But first, here's the tweet that started it all from Jason Schreier. A lot of you probably know him from, he used to work at Kotaku, now he works at Bloomberg. Whatever you think about the guy himself, I actually like Jason. He's a very, very reliable industry kind of insider. So the original tweet says, the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake is indefinitely delayed. Bloomberg has learned. Developer Aspire abruptly fired 2 directors this month and told staff that the project is on pause as it tries to figure out what comes next. So I've seen a lot of people kind of making this seem like it's the worst case scenario ever, as in this game is canceled, it's gone. I've also seen a lot of kind of, I don't want to call it coping, but a lot of people also trying to rewrite his things in a way that aren't accurate to the tweet, saying that the game is just, development's gone slowly. If you read his tweet, he very clearly says the project is on pause. For those who don't know, Aspire is the company that handled the KOTOR remakes. They did, or sorry, not remakes, but porting. They ported KOTOR 1 and 2 to the iOS. The ports themselves were really great, actually. I think that the iPhone is one of the best ways, or the iPad is one of the best ways, or Android as well, to play KOTOR 1. I haven't played through the second one yet, but the experience is just, it's phenomenal. I was a little worried about them handling a kind of AAA major property like Star Wars, just because I haven't seen as much evidence of them actually creating their own games. A lot of what we've seen from Aspire has been ports. Anyway, we'll take a look at the article. Obviously, I'll check out some of the quote tweets as well. Sorry, I've got it on my second monitor. I'm trying to mirror it, but it's not working so well. Reaction hasn't been super positive. Mitch Dyer, who was actually a writer for, I believe, Star Wars Battlefront 2 and some other games when EA was exclusively handling Star Wars, says, yikes of the Old Republic. It's kind of the thought overall. Checking out the quote tweets, I basically said what I'm going to talk about in this video, how KOTOR is like a free opportunity to print money. The loyalty to the kind of universe is so high, and the interest is so high that if you can make even a decent game, you are going to make a bajillion dollars, especially where we know Star Wars fans are incredibly hungry for more single-player content. I think that's part of the reason why Jedi Fallen Order did so unexpectedly well, because people just want Star Wars experiences, and not only are there very few Star Wars experiences, but there are even fewer single-player Star Wars experiences. Again, Jedi Fallen Order obviously is an exception to what has been kind of a trend ordinarily. But yeah, not a whole lot. It's Twitter, let's be honest. Not a whole lot kind of in the of important human knowledge contained in the quote retweets. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the actual article here itself. And again, I mentioned a bit about Jason Schreier here. Very well-known industry insider. He's broken lots of gaming news. Kind of, I think the most recent really big thing that I remember reading from him, and sorry for how weird the lighting is in here. The most recent thing that I read about from him was about Halo Infinite, and how much of a mess that game actually was, and how even though the campaign I think is quite lacking, we're lucky that it's even in the state that it's in now. So he kind of summarizes what I said, that Aspire was known for the KOTOR remakes, among other things, and that the game has reached somewhat of an impasse. He says, Aspire's 2 studio heads told employees that the project is on pause and that the company will look for new contracts and development opportunities said the people who are not authorized to speak publicly. And this is how basically Jason's explaining how he figured out this news. Apparently there was some big employee meeting, and the news was disseminated fairly widely. And I mean, when that happens, there's a 0% chance that it doesn't eventually leak out. I mean, someone is going to talk to Jason Schreier, or Jason Schreier is going to hear there was a big meeting, and kind of any of the kind of industry insiders will hear about this, and then the rest, of course, is history. And this bit is what's really concerning for me. Not only is the project on pause temporarily, but in the meantime, Aspyr is looking for new contracts and development opportunities. That means that not only are they taking a break from KOTOR, but in the meantime, they're concerned enough about development that they're taking on what would ordinarily be, opportunities they wouldn't have time for. So that indicates to me that there's a really material problem with how the game's development is going that has the company very concerned. He talks about this kind of important thing. Knights of the Republic was one of the first modern Star Wars games to be released outside of Electronic Arts. He says console games there because there have been many mobile games kind of outside of EA. Some, like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, fall under the EA umbrella, but many kind of don't. And yeah, he's completely right. This was supposed to be one of the major things that kind of the new Star Wars Lucasfilm games, or it's just called Lucasfilm Games because it does technically more than Star Wars, was going to be responsible for, and so far, not good. So the game was announced last September and has been in development for nearly 3 years. That's fairly long for a video game to be kind of run into big material issues like this, I would think. I mean, AAA game development time is really long, especially when development can mean everything from, like, he does say development, but he might mean the entire kind of pre-development process, storyboard, like everything. Not really some clarity here. The interesting thing here is that this wasn't just an issue where Aspyr didn't have an idea. As he says, on June 30th of this year, Aspyr finalized a demo known as a vertical slice. That means that you're showing a kind of in-depth look at what one portion of the game will look like. So a very in-depth look at kind of what one section of the game would look like. So you probably polish up one section, add a lot of features. It's meant to be representative of what playing a part of the game would be like, whereas kind of a wider horizontal slice, I guess you would call it, would be sort of a more shallow look at the entire game as a whole. So this would give a pretty good representation of what they imagine the game is going to look like. The vertical slice was finalized. It was shown to Lucasfilm and Sony. The developers were happy about it, but were shocked to find out that the partners, not really sure whether that's Lucasfilm or Sony, were unhappy. I assume it was probably a Lucasfilm thing, but I mean, who knows? It honestly could have just very well been Sony. Like they're putting a lot of effort into developing this game. Like the Sony is getting their title on it, and obviously they paid Star Wars for the rights to that, so they want to get their money's worth. In another concerning kind of event that happened afterwards, the company Aspyr fired design director Brad Prince, and art director Jason Miner. Neither responded to requests for comment, but Miner suggested that his dismissal was unexpected. So Aspyr basically thought they had something good going. They obviously didn't. Aspyr Studio had told staff that the vertical slice wasn't where they wanted to be and the project would be paused, according to two people who were in on the meeting. One person familiar with the decision suggested a disproportionate amount of time and money had gone into the demo and that the project's current course wasn't sustainable. And I imagine that's kind of one of the risks you have when you make these vertical slice demos. You're polishing up, for one section early on, developing probably things outside of the ordinary pipeline, I guess, but you're also making content that very well may be overwritten at some point. So another point of contention may be the timeline. This is something we've seen over and over again with modern AAA games. Aspyr told staff and partners it would release the game by 2022, but developers just said a more realistic target would be 2025. That's not a little difference. That's not a 6-month delay and we're kind of meeting halfway. That's a 3-year, and if they're saying 2025, it's probably 2026. It's a 3-year difference, and that's on top of what would at that point, what they said, it was 3 years already, end of 2022. So we're getting like a 6+ year development cycle, which seems pretty long. I don't know whether KOTOR having kind of its established story and kind of tone, whatever came first, whether that makes things easier or harder, but yeah. The fate of Star Wars The Old Republic remains unclear. In May, Embracer announced that Saber would also join the project. Some at Aspire believe that Saber, which has mainly been doing outsourcing work, may take over it completely, and I think that is it. A lot of ads on this website. I mean, print's dying. Same with, digital print too. I say print not just for physical print, but that's why I've got no problem kind of paying my 30 cents for access to this, and I can kill it later if I want to. Good reporting is worth paying for, but this is extremely concerning, and I don't know enough about the game industry to know where to lay blame, but the choice to have Aspire rather than kind of a known, I don't know which of the other big AAA studios would have been better to handle this. Like, I know BioWare is not what it once was. I don't know if Obsidian would have been a better choice, but I mean, this is not great, and this is not the only thing that's going on here. The Quantic Dream game, which we're also seeing mentioned here, seems to be in very big trouble. We talked about that on X2 earlier this year. There's been, a million Star Wars games which have been announced or been leaked. We've seen maybe little bits of it, probably most famously Star Wars 1313, for them to kind of just go away, and it's not good. It's concerning, and it's just kind of demoralizing, especially where Star Wars video games are in such a bad place, and they have been now since EA took over. There's never been a period in my life, and I'm 30, where there have been, like I said, I'm 30 and my voice starts to crack a little bit, perpetually 16. I'm 30, and I don't think there's ever been a point in my life where we've gotten as few Star Wars games. Star Wars Squadrons and Fallen Order were both phenomenal in my opinion, and that did help things, but the deal to EA was a mistake. I don't think there's any way that can be classified anywhere else. Bringing EA on as a partner, that's smart. Giving EA the exclusive rights to distribute and publish Star Wars games, console games, it was a blunder, and that's why the contract hasn't been renewed. But it's disappointing that kind of the first thing that we've seen when Lucasfilm Games is announced is this, and it's so kind of appropriate where the movies are a complete mess, the shows are better, but when something is announced in Star Wars, it doesn't reliably feel like it's going to come out. So that's that. I don't really have a whole lot else to add to this situation. Just really disappointing. Of course, we did cover this earlier in the week on X2. I'm going to link to our video there, and also X Clips, which is my short form channel, which I don't really promote. You'll find it spammed on your homepage either way. But that's all for today. Until next time, let me know if you like this, seeing my face, or whether it doesn't matter. But may the Force be with you.